Commander Zeftal's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as he observed the tactical display. The human fleet was outnumbered 50-1, a pathetic showing even by their species standards. His armada of 15,000 hegemony warships surrounded the pitiful collection of human vessels like predators circling wounded prey. "Signal the humans," he commanded, his voice resonating through the bridge's crystalline communication array. "Offer them the standard terms of surrender." The response came swiftly, crackling through the subspace channels in that crude human language they called English. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We decline your generous offer. Instead, we'd like to present a counter-proposal." Zeftal's secondary eyes rolled in amusement. "Enlighten us, Admiral." "Physics lesson, free of charge." The hegemony commander's laughter rippled through his chitinous frame. 300 human ships against his armada. What lesson could they possibly teach? The mathematical certainty of their defeat was as absolute as the laws of thermodynamics. "Begin the assault," Zeftal ordered. The first wave of hegemony fighters screamed toward the human formation, their plasma cannons charging to full capacity. But as they closed the distance, something peculiar happened. The human ships began to move in patterns that defied conventional military doctrine, their formations shifting with impossible precision. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored her instruments aboard the TDF Archimedes, watching as the enemy fighters approached. As the expedition's chief physicist, she had spent the last 6 months working with Admiral Chen to develop what they called the physics gambit, a desperate strategy born from humanity's greatest weakness becoming its greatest strength. "Admiral," she reported, "gravitational field generators are online. Temporal displacement drives are synchronized. All ships report ready for implementation." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "The hegemony has numbers, but they've never truly understood the universe they travel through. Time to teach them why humans don't just build faster ships, we build smarter ones." The first hegemony fighters reached optimal firing range and unleashed their plasma barrage. But instead of striking their targets, the energy beams curved impossibly through space, bending around the human ships like light around a black hole. Zeftal's confidence wavered as he watched the tactical display. What sorcery is this? His science officer's tentacles writhed in confusion. "Commander, they appear to be manipulating gravitational fields on a localized scale. Our weapons are following curved space-time trajectories." But the humans were just getting started. The second phase began when the human fleet seemed to flicker out of existence for microseconds at a time. Hegemony targeting systems couldn't lock onto vessels that kept jumping forward and backward through time by fractions of a second, creating an effect similar to extreme lag in their targeting computers. "Temporal displacement drives," Dr. Vasquez explained to a young officer watching in amazement. "We can't travel through time like in the movies, but we can create tiny temporal bubbles around our ships. To their sensors, we're constantly a few milliseconds in the past or future." The third phase made Zeftal's bridge crew panic. Human ships began appearing to occupy multiple positions simultaneously, creating dozens of false targets. The hegemony's overwhelming numbers advantage became meaningless when they couldn't determine which targets were real. "Quantum superposition fields," Admiral Chen announced over the fleet communication channel. "Every particle in our ships exists in multiple probable states until observed. Their sensors can't collapse our wave functions fast enough to track us effectively." But Dr. Vasquez had saved the best for last. "Phase 4, Admiral," she announced. "Initiating the Alcubierre solution." The human fleet didn't move faster. They compressed and expanded space-time itself. Ships appeared to teleport across the battlefield, not by exceeding light speed, but by contracting space in front of them and expanding it behind. They danced between hegemony formations like ghosts, appearing inside their defensive perimeters, before anyone could react. Zeftal watched in growing horror as his numerical superiority crumbled. His ships collided with each other, fired at phantom targets, and found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy that had turned physics itself into a weapon. "How?" he demanded of his science officer. "Commander, they're not breaking the laws of physics, they're exploiting them. Every phenomenon they're using is theoretically possible, but the computational requirements, the energy costs, the precision needed, the officer's voice trailed off in amazement. It should be impossible to coordinate such effects across an entire fleet. Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the communication array again. The lesson isn't over, Commander Zeftal. You see, your species has always approached warfare through numerical superiority. Bigger fleets, more weapons, overwhelming force. You treat the universe like a simple equation. More firepower equals victory. Human ships continued their impossible dance through space-time, dismantling hegemony formations with surgical precision. They didn't destroy ships so much as strand them, teleporting bombs onto bridges, creating gravitational anchors that held enemy vessels motionless, using temporal fields to accelerate aging in critical ship components until they failed. Humans, Admiral Chen continued, we approach problems differently. We don't just accept the universe as it is. We figure out how it works and then we make it work for us. You brought 15,000 ships because you counted our 300 and felt confident in your mathematical advantage. The hegemony fleet was in full retreat now, their formations shattered, their tactics useless against an enemy that had weaponized the fundamental forces of reality. But you forgot the most important calculation, Chen concluded, as the last hegemony ships limped away through hyperspace. It doesn't matter how many ships you have when your enemy can rewrite the rules of engagement. Dr. Vasquez powered down the gravitational field generators, watching the retreating enemy fleet on her displays. Think they learned their lesson, Admiral? Admiral Chen smiled grimly. They learned that humans don't just live in the universe, we understand it well enough to make it our ally. In the depths of space, 300 human ships had just taught a galactic empire that in the contest between brute force and applied physics, physics would always win. After all, they had numbers, but humans had physics.